Welcome to a new episode of Insects for Fun. Today we turn our attention under the blistering heat of the desert sun. Where most creatures scramble for shade or water, a secret civilization thrives below the surface. Down in the cool earth, a colony of ants tends to their most precious treasure. Not gold, not jewels, but living drops of liquid amber. Honeypot ants are groups of ants from multiple genera that have evolved to use their bodies as food stores. If you Google honeypot ants, you'll probably see two names pop up over and over: Myrmecocystus and Camponotus. Those are the big stars of the honeypot world. Myrmecocystus species are the ones native to North America, and you'll see them often in science photos hanging from the ceilings like Christmas ornaments. And then in Australia, you've got Camponotus inflatus, which is famous for those translucent jewel-toned workers that look like they swallowed a marble made of honey. These two genera are the most studied and visually famous examples of honeypot ants. All in all, though, there are around 34 known species spread across 7 genera, and they've been recorded in the deserts of North America, South America, Australia, Africa, and also parts of Mexico. These ants, much like many others, make subterranean nests. But ants in the genera Myrmecocystus and Camponotus have a special worker class called repletes, which act as living storage tanks. Straight up, these ants can stuff themselves until their abdomens swell to the size of marbles. And they're filled with sweet liquid, nectar, honeydew, or even regurgitated sugar from their sisters. But what's even more wild is that they dangle from the ceiling in their nests, motionless, like big amber disco balls. The name honeypot ant paints a pretty simple image, and the scientific name Myrmecocystus comes from Greek myrmex for ant and cystis meaning bladder or sac. It's both literal and poetic, describing the swollen translucent abdomens that honestly look like tiny honey-filled balloons. To the untrained eye, you might think these ants are diseased or deformed, but they are vital members of the colony's survival system, hanging pantries. And here's the twist. Once a worker becomes a replete, she rarely leaves her chamber again. Her legs can no longer move easily under the weight of her abdomen. And from then on, her purpose is simple: to store, to endure, and to feed. However, if conditions change and the stored food is depleted, repletes can return to their normal form and resume active roles in the colony. These ant colonies act as a living marketplace. Foragers venture out at dusk to gather nectar, seeds, and honeydew from aphids and scale insects, and when they return, they feed the repletes mouth to mouth, depositing sugary fluid that's stored for harsher times, when food is scarce. When droughts come and flowers vanish, other workers will approach the repletes and gently stroke their antennae. On cue, the replete releases a droplet of golden sustenance, enough to feed the hungry nestmates. They're actually hanging sugar kegs, and the ants can pull their antennae like getting drinks on tap. Now, you might be thinking that repletes are storing all this food in their stomach, but that's actually not the case. These ants have a special flexible pouch area called a crop, which is used to store the goods from returning workers. As the crop inflates, the quote-unquote gaster, the visible part of the abdomen, stretches apart but remains connected by strong sclerites. Eventually, the crop becomes so huge that the abdomen looks like islands in a sea of golden fluid. Oh, and this crop has special valves to prevent the food from entering the ant's stomach, where it would be digested and essentially wasted. This cycle of giving and saving keeps the colony alive through seasons when nothing grows. It's an economy of patience, trust, and sugar. Okay, let's talk about their nests because they're also pretty fascinating. Turns out, honeypot ants are impressive architects. Their nests can descend several meters below ground where temperatures are stable and humidity is higher. It's in these deeper chambers where the repletes hang, safe from predators and desiccation. Each chamber is a network of tunnels and vaults carved by countless mandibles, a city built in total darkness. Ants communicate through touch and scent, moving food, larvae, and workers between layers like an efficient underground machine. And here's a detail that's easy to miss. Not all honeypot ants make repletes. Only certain colonies in arid environments develop this adaptation. So, going back to the ants that make living pantries, repletes are fed to capacity over weeks until their abdomens become translucent globes of honey-colored liquid. Like I mentioned before, they hang attached to the ceiling, surrounded by other repletes, sometimes dozens, even hundreds, and without them, the colony would perish. Repletion generally occurs during the warmer, wetter months of spring and early summer, when nectar and honeydew are abundant. As the environment dries out and temperatures climb toward midsummer, the ants rely on these filled repletes to sustain the colony until rain or blooms return. They feed not just the workers, but the queen and her brood as well. In a way, they become a kind of biological time capsule, preserving the energy of springtime flowers in their bodies until the world blooms again. Now let's get to the human side of the story, because of course these ants have been noticed by us as living treasures. Indigenous people in Australia, particularly the Aboriginal communities of the desert, have known and cherished honeypot ants for thousands of years. They call them Tijone or Yunkara, depending on the language group, and treat them as a sweet, rare delicacy. Hunters will dig carefully into the desert floor, following the foragers back to their hidden chambers. There, they gently pluck a few repletes from the ceiling, careful not to destroy the colony. This is important. They do not deplete the repletes. These people know the importance of conservation to keep this good thing going. The taste, according to those who have tried it, is like honey mixed with fruit syrup, floral, tangy, and refreshing after a long day in the heat. In fact, honeypot ants may be the only insects in the world kept and eaten as, quote, living desserts, unquote. But people don't just keep them to eat them. Many people like to have them as pets because of how interesting they are. You can also make them turn a variety of colors by dyeing their sugar water. Okay, now let's talk hierarchy. Like most ants, honeypot colonies are ruled by a queen, a long-lived mother who can survive for years, producing generations of workers. The workers are divided into roles: foragers, nurses, guards, and, in special cases, repletes. But who becomes a replete isn't random. It's chosen, sometimes even forced, by the colony. Younger workers are often selected and gradually overfed. Their bodies respond by enlarging the crop and stretching the gaster until they become living droplets. Although many repletes remain in their roles for life, some do shrink back to normal size and resume foraging if resources are low, which is something I definitely mentioned earlier in this episode. But of course, it's not all sweet living for these ants, because even beneath the sand, danger lurks. Ant-eating species, from lizards to specialized spiders, know the value of a honeypot ant nest. Some predators dig into the chambers, biting the swollen repletes first, draining their stored nectar like tiny living fruit. And sometimes, rival colonies wage wars underground, raiding repletes as spoils. In such battles, an entire colony's survival can hinge on its supply of living stores. What's interesting is the same basic idea of using living members to store food appears in a few other insects as well, like termites and bees. But in ants, it's taken to an art form, which is why they have garnered so much attention. The wild part is that repletion behavior likely evolved multiple times independently in different genera. A case of convergent evolution, where unrelated species arrive at the same solution to a shared problem. In this case, scarcity. And with that, we are gonna finish this episode. Thank you as always for listening. Make sure to rate the show 5 stars on whatever platform you listen. And of course, if you would like to support the show, you can for sure go over to the YouTube channel, give that a follow, check out the shorts that I've been making, or join the Patreon. Get your ad-free episodes, get your bonus episodes and vlogs. It's a great way to get more content made from me and also help support the show so I can keep it going, because this, for the most part, is like a part-time job at this point. And I'm already working 2 other jobs. So you can imagine I'm quite busy, and I would prefer not to be this busy. Later.